Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of Anime Seeker. This is Matt Invictus. I'm here with Will Stevenson. Just a quick background on this new series. I'm not a huge anime fan. I like anime just fine. I haven't seen enough of it, so I decided to change that, try and get into more popular anime shows, and I thought I'd make a show out of it. Most of these videos will probably be just me giving my thoughts, but I'll try and have guests when I can. Today I managed to get Will. We're going to be talking about the immensely popular Death Note anime, and towards the end, as a bonus, we'll be covering the controversial Netflix movie. So you can look forward to that. So, Will, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So, uh, let's get right into it. What would you say are your overall thoughts on the Death Note anime?
Pretty damn good. First half is great. Second half, not so much. But I think the finale is just absolutely genius. One of the best finales ever. The main character, Light Yagami. He's one of the most interesting, unusual protagonists in any fictional series. He's not an anti-hero. He's the villain, and he's the main protagonist of the story. He's like Walter White. If Walter White didn't have his moral conflict, he just went straight into being the bad guy. It has one of the most. It has some of the best chemistry between a hero and a villain ever, with his his mental battle between Light and L. Though it's just some of the most fascinating stuff you'll watch. I mean, it's not a perfect series, and I wouldn't call it like thought provoking like a Ghost in the Shell or a Fate Zero would is, but it does have some interesting themes about good and evil, law versus justice, and they're just deep enough that it'll leave you thinking, but it's also extremely entertaining at the same time. Us and it I mean for a series just about that is mostly about characters thinking and talking, it's as exciting as an action movie or an action show would be. And yeah, that's those would be my thoughts.
Okay, yeah, I was really into the first half of the series. I agree with you. I was just like very pulled in by the protagonist and his relationship with his rival and just the storytelling and everything. I was just really immersed in this series, and then I wouldn't even say halfway through, about like two-thirds of the way through, I think it all kind of fell apart for me. I found the later episodes to be kind of a chore to watch. They weren't seen worse things, but I feel like the massive drop in quality towards the end did hurt the series. And unlike you, I wasn't even happy with the finale. I found the finale disappointing, and I'll be discussing that in a bit. But overall, I'd say the whole thing is definitely worth watching, just because of the brilliance of the first half of the series. That alone makes the whole thing worth watching. But just be prepared for the later episodes.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
yeah. Other than disagreeing with you, the finale, I
oh,
agree with you. I agree with your thoughts as well.
yeah. Okay, next point. Like you said, like the one of the main points of the show is the rivalry between the protagonist, like Yagami, and the super detective L, who's like his rival, trying to track him down, put it into his criminal activities. So, out between those two, who would you say you were rooting for the most?
It's tough because when I first saw the series, I would say I liked L more because I personally identified with him more because he was a bit more of a social loner and just his mannerisms, and I agreed with him. Like I thought Light was like I understood why Light was doing what he was doing, but he was so narcissistic and self-righteous about it. Nowadays, I still think I root for Albor, but I more sympathize with how Light is so fed up with how broken and unjust society is, but eventually he lost sight of his goal and became more about, oh, I want to be God, and everyone will have to thank me for making the world perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to clarify before a bunch of crazy L fangirls storm me in the comments. I like L just fine. I think he's a very good character. I enjoyed watching him a lot, but overall, I'd say I was between the two. I was more on the side of Light, and I know that Light is evil. He is evil. I do not condone evil. I am a nice man with happy feelings all of the time. But at the same time, I felt myself actually identifying with Light more because, like, we're both very, very cynical, both very negative impression of society. A lot of very, very fed up with society. We just both of us are hoping for some massive social change that'll just and again, not his methods weren't. I wouldn't say condone all his methods. I do not think mass murder is a good thing by any means. Again, nice man with happy thoughts. But at the same time, I just, for the sake of entertainment, I wanted Late to come out on top at the end. To that, overall, I think Late is more of an interesting character because, again, I like L. He was very entertaining to watch, but he's a fairly, I mean, let's face it, like the socially awkward detective who's totally just weird and bizarre behavior, but turns out to be a genius in the end. That's a fairly common trope. We've been since like I don't know the '70s. Late,
Yeah,
you touched on this.
We saw that with Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes, Columbo. It's pretty common trope. But then Late, very distinct because he is like the very like handsome, charismatic protagonist. But on top of that, one, he's flat out evil. Evil. He's like a very villainous protagonist, and on top of that, the thing I liked most about him, he's believably intelligent because we all know like those supposed genius characters who basically solve all their problems by just pressing a magic button, making all their problems go away. But with Late, they make a very good point of like showing his meticulous planning. You like really got inside his head. You like got to know how his mind works. You just like got to see him like putting together all these brilliant schemes, and not all of them came out on his side. But at the same time, he is just a very genius. I feel like they put a lot of effort into making his planning as intelligent as possible. So I would say that I was hoping that Light would be the winner by the end of the series. So
I understand that he is more, I think, a more entertaining character at the very least.
mm-hmm. And also he has the greatest potato chip scene in history.
That scene is so genius. It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah. Yeah, he makes eating. You know how they say like a good actor can make reading the phone book entertaining.
Yep.
Well, he made eating potato chips the coolest thing ever.
It's awesome. I can't believe that exists and it's as awesome as it is.
Yeah, it really is. So I was hoping to keep this episode short. So you want to get into spoiler territory?
Yeah, let's get into spoiler territory.
Yep. Okay. If you haven't seen Death Note, please stop this video right now because we are going to ruin it for you. Okay. So let's talk about that finale. So tell us. You say you like the finale. Tell us why you found it satisfying.
I found it satisfying because Light got his comeuppance. It was very well animated. Some of the best animation that the show ever had. It was very well acted, and I know what we had to sit through to get there wasn't the best thing, but I think it all paid off, and I think it all paid off in the end, especially the ending in the anime and the manga are a bit different. Light dies much more pathetically in the manga, but in the anime there's more of a poignancy as you it's almost tragic because he had such a bright future ahead of him, but then he's one day he found the Death Note just lying on the ground, and his life just took a spiral into darkness.
Yeah, so I had some problems with the finale, and the thing is, even though I was rooting for Light, I was prepared to see him lose in the end. I was expecting for him to die or go to jail. I was not expecting him to be the winner. So the thing is, okay, like the L, who was like trying to like his rifle for the majority of the series, he like dies like halfway or 2/3 of the way through.
Yeah.
So L completely loses. And again, I liked L. I would have been perfectly satisfied if at the end of the show it was L who ended up bringing Light down, who ended up being the victor at the end. But he died, and then they brought in another character to replace him called Nier, and I hated Nier. I don't know what the Death Note fandom thinks of Nier, but I couldn't stand him. He he annoyed me every. Honestly, he was just too boring for me to be rooting for.
Yeah,
Because then Alec, he was. Yeah,
as someone
you can
who's
go.
as someone who has knowledge of the Death Note fandom, yeah, they don't like Nier. He's boring L. That's what he is. They don't even try to really
Yes,
make him
exactly.
distinct. And yeah,
Exactly. So
killing L
my
was
big problem with the finale was that it wasn't the character I liked who ended up bringing down Light. It was Nier, who was boring and annoying and horrible. So I was just very upset that basically the victor of the entire series was this character I did not give a damn about. So that for that reason, I feel like the finale was just a major letdown. All that build up kind of didn't really pay off for me. Again, I'd have liked to find if it was L who won, but it was a character I didn't like. So for that reason, like a Late's downfall just kind of left me feeling a bit empty.
I
So
understand that. It evened out for me. Yeah, I don't like Nier. I don't hate him, but I don't care for him. But I didn't want Light to win. He still wasn't. He was still was a good part of the series for me. So seeing him brought down made just about saved it for me.
mm-hmm. But is there anything else you want to comment on about the show, like any of the characters or the themes or anything, just anything at all?
Uh, I like Ryuk. Ryuk's one of the best
Oh yeah,
parts
yeah,
of the
Ryuk.
series. Uh,
Yeah,
uh,
Ryuk was awesome.
yeah, Ryuk's awesome. And if you are going to kill L, it's a ballsy decision to make to kill one of the iconic parts of your series in the first half. It is a bold move, but either kill him and end the series short and try to end the series without Nier, or or don't kill him and throughout and keep the series as long as it originally was, but have him take it down light. Like
Mhm.
if you take down L, then the whole thing just kind of it doesn't fall apart, but it feels so much lesser.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked Ryuk. What did you think of Misa Amani? Did she make you want to claw your eyes out?
Sometimes, sometimes not.
Yeah,
She could get really annoying though. I think she was one of the weakest, if not the weakest, part of the series.
yeah. Honestly, I couldn't stand her at first. She was like basically the Willie Scott of the series. She's just this character who's like you feel like doesn't need to be there, brings nothing to the series aside from annoying you. But then I'm like, honestly, she's meant to be annoying. She's I feel like she's meant to be out of place distraction. So that made it a bit more bearable. But again, she is a Willie Scott character in it, so that might not float your boat. But I mean, if that's all you want to say, I guess we can move on to discussing the Netflix movie.
Let's just move on to the movie. Let's rip it off like a band-aid.
Yeah. Okay. So you say you really enjoyed the anime series. You think it's very good, very interesting, very compelling. How would you say the Netflix movie compares to all that?
Worst movie of 2017. Like like Netflix has had a bad run with movies lately. I don't know what's wrong with them. They need to either get better writers or just stop greenlighting stuff that isn't good. It I don't hate it for changing stuff. You have to change stuff when you're adapting something to another medium, but the problem is the changes aren't good or they make no sense. And what they do keep doesn't work within the movie. Like Light Turner is not interesting at all. He's unlikable. Both Light Yagami and Light Turner were unlikable, but Light was actually cool and interesting to watch commit his crimes. Light Turner is just they try to make him look like a genius, but he comes off as an idiot. There's no particular scene where he shows strategic genius until the very end, where it comes off as a plot convenience. it looks very cheap for a movie with a pretty high budget. It looks oddly very cheap. I don't mind Al being black. That's a like if you're complaining about that in the show, then you've got your priorities mixed up because there are so many other things to hate about that friggin' movie. Like, yeah, worst movie of 2017, worse than Justice League, worse than Alien Covenant. I haven't watched Bright on Netflix, so maybe that's worse, but I doubt it because it's the only movie this year that actually made me angry on some level to see good source material turned into garbage.
I don't think anyone watched Bright on Netflix. But yeah. Literally everyone I knew who'd seen this the Death Note movie, they all told me it was bad. Like everyone I know hated it. I don't know a single person on earth who liked it. So I went into it knowing that it was bad, but to be this bad, I was so angry that when it was done, I stormed out into a room full of my family, and I'm just like, I just watched the worst freaking movie I have ever seen. And that was slightly hyperbolic that I've seen. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. Definitely the worst this year, but it was worse than I could have imagined. Light was horrible. I feel like they were trying to make him a lot more sympathetic in this version than the anime. But yeah, he ends up being much less sympathetic because from the very beginning he just comes off as like a douchey asshole. He's not smart. He's basically I was watching where it just the whole thing died for me. It is like where he's like carrying the Death Note around in like the middle of a crowded gymnasium, and then he just
Oh
goes
my
up.
god.
Yeah, he goes up to this like random girl he barely knows. It's not even his friend, just this cute girl he has a crush on. He's like, "Hey, this is the Death Note, and I can use it to kill anyone I want." And he just this brings it turns this like random girl into his partner. I mean, in the anime Light, he was like so protective of this thing. He like rigged his desk to explode if anyone found this thing. He didn't willingly expose it to anyone. I don't think. But then, at least at first. But then in the movie, he just goes up to this like cute girl has a crush on. Hi, I'm Kira, and I can kill everyone I want using this book.
Oh yeah, that was the worst part of the movie for me. Like single
And like
objectively worst part of the movie because it completely whatever chance you had of salvaging it just was vanished after that.
it's like in the anime, like the first person he ever kills using this thing is like a hostage taker who's got like I don't know like a threats like dozens of people's lives. So it's like you can kind of like understand. So that like made a lot more sense in this movie. Like the first person he kills is a high school bully, and not even a particularly bad high school bully. It's not like the ones in Stephen King's It who are like serial killers in the making. All you saw this guy do was like push some girl and then punch Light in the face, punching Light in the face even. So this is like his first casualty.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, you go.
I was gonna agree with you. Yeah, that's so petty and stupid. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then at first I didn't think they screwed up L too badly. Like I know early on it's like, okay, he's not as good as the anime, but he's got some of the mannerisms down. He's kind of quirky. He's way better than Light. But then at because the halfway point of the movie, his L's character just completely fell apart. He just lost all to his anime counterpart. He just turned into just this like spastic jerk. Just this completely hysterical dude. He just didn't remind me. They basically turned everyone into a completely different character, except even Ryuk, who wasn't changed as much. He just felt a bit too. I don't know, a bit too. I don't really know how to put it, but Ryuk wasn't so bad. So yeah, the the movie was very special, and not in a good way.
I'm back.
Okay, great. Yeah. So anything else you want to discuss about the movie?
Don't waste your time. Watch something good. Watch Star Wars: The Last
Yeah,
Jedi.
we'll watch anything else.
Yeah, like literally watch paint dry. You can do something productive with your time.
Yeah, watch Bright. That would be a comparatively better use of your time watching that.
I mean, I'm sure
So
even Max Landis can, I'm sure, write a better movie than this.
but so you said you've been reading the Death Note manga. Any thoughts on that you'd like to share?
I think it's good. Like watching it after the anime with its great music and animation. That's sort of, I mean, it's sort of a different experience, but you have to get into the mindset. You're not watching a show, you're reading a book, and there are some changes. Is like it's more. I think it's more subdued. It plays out more like a traditional crime thriller, and it's still good. You just have to get into a different mindset. It's like after watching the It movie, reading the book, you have to come to grasp that they're two different mediums, and they're obviously going to change stuff. And you're reading the original source material. You're reading something that, like, generally this isn't always true, but generally the book is better. I don't know if it's true in this. I wouldn't say it's true in this case, but you're reading something in its purest, most distilled form. Yeah,
Okay.
that's those would be my thoughts.
Okay. I know nothing about the manga, so yeah, thanks for sharing your thoughts on that. And any other thoughts you want to share on anything at all before we wrap up?
Uh, my final thoughts are the music in the anime is pretty good. There's not the music in the movie is shit. Those would be my final thoughts. I really don't have it. I don't have anything else to say other than watch the anime, skip, pretend the movie doesn't exist, and read the manga if you liked the anime.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely recommend the anime. And I was joking about how like anything else would be a better use of your time than the movie, but I actually would recommend watching the Netflix movie after the anime just for the contrast, just so you can see just how because the movie is just so bad that it actually kind of needs to be witnessed just to believe it. So, I mean, if you have if you have a stomach for this kind of terrible movie, if you think you can handle it, I would recommend checking that out after the anime. But
Okay, but only hate watch after it's a failure because the more you watch it, the more likely we'll get a sequel, and we nobody wants that. Like,
yeah, yeah. So, okay, I think that's it. Thank you for watching, everyone, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, everybody.